so that you will be able to download it in the future. Okay, so we do have some sound issues and some things which hopefully we can sort out. Kim has a problem with her sound, so she's just going to have to follow along. Sorry about that, Kim. All right, so the way we're going to do it is with groups. We will also do some of the interviews via this facility or via the telephone. So because it's online, we'll have the Connect Pro, the Adobe Connect Pro facility, but we will also have the telephone, so we can do that, and we can also use email. So hopefully that we'll get to know each other here as we continue. Now let's talk a little bit about the programs assessment. One of the first things that we're going to do is look at recognition of prior learning and look at the recognition of current competency. That's foundational. It's one of the first things we're doing. And the third part of this webinar tonight, we're going to look at what the process actually is. So recognition of prior learning is a very important part of what we actually do. But it is also a lifelong learning process. And in order to do that lifelong learning process, we need to look at our own self-assessment. And in our own self-assessment, what we're going to ask you to do is to do a quiz before you start any of the modules, any of the units. Every unit will have a multiple choice questionnaire for project management. Not all of them will have that. Some, if you're doing the Diploma of Management or the Diploma of Civil Construction Management, it will be a prior questionnaire as well before you actually start and get into it. What that will actually do for you and for us is to evaluate and to assess how much you know, underlying knowledge on that, and how much you would be able to or to assess your own competency in this unit. If you're doing the project management, the self-assessment will be recorded and you can actually use it. Welcome to Colin. He's just joined us. Colin, we're in the middle of going through the program assessment, but welcome. So the self-assessment is essential for us. It also initiates the start of that unit. Now, if you're doing RPL, it does mean that we will be able to assess concurrently many of the modules and units that are in here. There's 9 units, as I said, and I'll show you later on. So self-assessment is an important part of the program, and we wish you to do that self-assessment as you go. The second thing is the gathering of evidence. The gathering of evidence is critical because that is the way that we can actually assess your competency. You know, exams and what we're doing here. So what we're trying to do is you need to give us enough evidence to show us that you're competent in any of these units. When we go through later on, and I'll show you the learning management system and the RPL section, we'll look at some of the critical factors that you need to know and understand and give evidence for. So evidence gathering is something that you can already start, and I'll take you through some of those as well. The fourth part of this one will be personal feedback. It's important for lifelong learning, it's important for self-assessment, but it's important to know where you actually stand in each of the units. So as you submit something, we will assess you, and there's 2 ways that you'll get it. Either we will say that the evidence that you have provided to us is satisfactory, or we'll send you back and say that more evidence is required. And with that more evidence required, we will give you feedback. So if the evidence is satisfactory, we'll give you feedback. If we require more evidence, then we will tell you we require more evidence, and we'll also provide you with feedback with the evidence that you have provided. Finally, what is the further learning. So if you're doing RPL and we find that you need to be assessed, or you need a little bit more training or a little bit more learning, then we will provide you the feedback and provide you the resources to be able to do that feedback. And that all gives us the fundamental skills and knowledge to provide us with competency. Deborah has just raised her hand. So Deborah, I'm going to give you the microphone. Yes, Deborah? You have the microphone. Would you like to? Deborah? Would you like to put it on the chat line, your question, Deborah, if you can't make it? Ah, there we go. Okay, you don't seem to be able to hear me. I'm afraid not, Deborah. I'm not sure why, but I'm glad that we've got this one. And we can try and sort that one out. I'm taking a note of those that haven't been able to do it, and maybe we can get together and actually sort out why we can't actually hear that. Now, Deborah's question is, I don't want to do any RPL. Do we have to do the self-assessment anyway? Yes, Deborah, we do want you to do the self-assessment. There's two reasons for doing the self-assessment. The first reason is it demonstrates and gives us evidence that you have started on that module. And secondly, it'll help you assess and us assess what needs to be known. It's multiple choice, and I don't believe it'll be that difficult. There will be many that don't want to do any RPL at all, but it is a good way to start it. And another thing would be good for it is that actually it helps us with the formative assessment. In other words, how much do you know now and how much do you know afterwards? So you can do that assessment as many times as you want. We're not going to stop you from doing it. The assessment, if you can do those assessments, or are getting around about 90% for those assessments, you will know that you can also do the PMBOK certification. And that's what we're aiming for. By the time you finish the Diploma of Management, you should also be able to get or become certified as a project management with the Project Management Institute. Right, let's go on to the next one. Ah, Matthew's raised his hand. Hi, Matthew. I've given you the speaker again. The microphone, would you like to tell us or ask us what your question is? I can hear you trying to talk, Matthew, but I really don't hear you. Would you like to just type your question at the bottom again? Yes, we can actually test the microphones. I think that might be a good idea. Is there anybody else that has a microphone? If they could just raise their hands now if they have a microphone. Hi, Deborah. You got a microphone. Tiffany has raised her hand. Okay, most of you have. All right, Colin has one. All right, it looks like most of you have got microphones. All right, let's just see. Colin, if you can just talk at the moment. Colin? All right. For some reason it seems like... All right, Colin, I see that you are speaking now.
Hello, how you going there?
All right, Colin, there we go. You're the first one I can actually hear.
Oh, very good. Well, hello from Condablin.
Great to hear from you. Okay. Can Can the rest of you hear Colin?
Oh, how is everybody tonight?
Okay. All right. Colin, I'm going to take you off again. I'm going to just ask Kim if she. Kim, we know we can't. Leon, Leon? Are you able to talk? Okay, Leon might have a problem as well. And Tiffany, are you able to talk? I see that Will has come on. Will, are you able to talk? Okay. All right. Well, for tonight, it looks like there's Tiffany, you talking at the moment. All right,
Can
and
you
Kim
hear me?
can talk.
Kim can talk.
Hello.
Okay, yes.
Okay, yes. Who's-
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, this is
Is
Tiffany.
that Tiffany?
Is that Tiffany?
Yeah.
Tiffany.
Tiffany.
Good.
Excellent.
All right.
All right.
Looks like the
Oh,
others
Looks
can
like
hear
the
you
others
as well.
can hear you as well.
Okay. Matthew, are you talking at the moment? Yes. Okay. Okay, Matthew, it looks like we're not being able to hear you. All right. I might. Yeah, it is a shame, unfortunately, Matthew. But what we will try and do is I'll try and get hold of you sometime during the week. I'll try and get hold of you, and let's try and do these one-on-one and get your systems working. Okay. This is actually a test session. That's why we've got this as an introductory program, and that why we are doing this is so that we don't have to start with it yet. So that's the reason why we actually doing this session tonight. Okay, nice one. All right. Still can't hear anything, so I'm going to log off. All right, Kim, that's a good idea. You might want to, Kim, what you might want to do is that there was a test site that was sent out with the email. You might want to just try that one. Okay. All right. I'm going to continue then. And let's go on. This program is designed so that we can also have a simulated environment. The reason why we'd want a simulated environment is that for a number of reasons. The first one being that the conditions of assessments may be disruptive to the work situation, as well as them being that we need to demonstrate those skills before in a live situation. We wouldn't like an aircraft pilot not to have done the simulated training before he takes us into the air. So that's one reason for the simulation. Another reason is that some work situations are will not allow for the expression of that competency. So what we've designed with this course is that in most cases, if you do not have a project that you're working on that you will have to do, and we have worked the templates, and we will have a simulated environment for that. So this course is also designed so that you can actually work in a simulated environment if you cannot provide a work situation, a working project. If you can provide a working project, then that is a really good way to go, because it will lessen your workload in some ways, because we'll be able to look at it from a work perspective, and you won't have to do any extra ones. But working the simulated environment also gives you the option to try out things and to do things and express yourself in ways that you might not be able to do in your work situation. So this course is designed so that you can also simulate your environment. And when we do, then we're going to ask you to do is submit your assignments and your work projects and use the templates that we have actually provided. A little later on, I'll actually show you those so that you will be able to upload your templates. The templates are in an area that you will be able to see them. Right. Now, let's go back and look at the assessment. How are we going to do it? Now, this is not the RPL. The RPL will have a question bank, but what we will be doing is that there will be that initial quiz, which we'd really like you to take. And then there will be some sort of questioning that gives us the underlying knowledge of what you're doing, and then there will be the case study, which we'll ask you to answer using the practical templates. So if you cannot provide us with a work, if you're not working on projects in your work environment, which we can actually utilize and use the things, then we would like you to do the case study and use the practical templates. If you have a look now on this slide, if you look at the templates that we're going to be actually using and completed for each of the units, for example, the managed project integration, there will be a project charter, a scope statement, a change control, a schedule. Those are what we're going to be expecting from you for each of these if you are working in, if you do not have your own or cannot supply your own working projects. Now, if we go here, there are two types of people that we can actually work with in our projects, and there's some way that we need to, over the next 6 to 8 months is going to be quite difficult, and there are those that are going to be unsuccessful and those that are going, and they're going to have a negative attitude towards things, and they're going to find fault. You'll find this in projects. But those that are successful have a different kind of an attitude. They have a very positive attitude, and they are encouraging. The problem with the bottom below the belt is it's always reactive. One of the good things about above the line is it's always proactive. So during this time, we hope that you will be proactive, that you'll be positive and give us positive feedback, and that you'll be encouraging. Now, Deborah's asked a question here, so I'm going to just repeat it. It says, what were the elements in the previous column? Deborah, I presume that was the previous slide, so if everyone just holds on, I'll just go back to that slide. I would presume that's what Deborah's talking about. Is this the one, Deborah? Okay. This is just an overview, Deborah. And it says, what were the elements in the previous column? Those would be the performance criteria that the performance criteria that the training package prescribes. So those are the elements and performance criteria that the package requires. So that's what those elements are. So the unit of competence is the unit that you'll be doing. The elements are the performance criteria. The assessment method is going to be almost exactly the same all the way through. Deborah, are you talking about the elements? Yes. Deborah, if you can hold on, just made a note of that, and I will show you what they look like from the training package perspective, and you'll be able to see what it actually says. But a performance criteria is if you're competent, to prove that you're competent, there's certain things that you should be able to do this to demonstrate that competency. and those are called performance criteria. But I will be able to show you that in a little bit more detail when we get into the learning management system and show you how that works. So I've made a note of that to remind me to actually show you that. Yes, Colin, I agree that it would be good to see those. So I will show you that when we've finished with the presentation, and I'll take you over to the learning management system. Okay, one thing I would like to encourage you with, let's be like Winston Churchill, and he said, give everything 100% and never, 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 and never give up. So I know that sometimes this is going to feel like that you want to do it and you want to give up and you're going to feel that you don't want to continue, but we are here to encourage you. Success is the ability to go from failure to failure without losing any enthusiasm. Well, I hope I can enthuse you enough to help you complete all the units, and I can provide you with the diploma of project management and a certificate. What I suggest that you do is to make the most of everything, and we need to ask this question: how can we make this work for us? So in each of these sessions that we do, please ask the question and say, well, how can we make this thing work for me? There will be interaction with others. Hopefully we'll get a lot more of the microphones working, and we can have an interaction with one another. One other thing which would be really good, which each of the webinars that we do, is what do we wish to gain from this? So before we start on this, in any of the webinars, is to list 5 things that you'd like to achieve on the webinar. And if you do not achieve those 5 things, that we will give you time to actually express that. So what I'd like you to do is that before you come to the webinar, list the 5 things that you'd like to get out of the webinar. Now, we only have about an hour each time. So I have to be very short, and I'm only going to be picking what I believe are the most important things. But if you give me the 5 things that you would like for us to cover before we get to the webinar, I will make sure that those are covered. So whenever we have a webinar and you'd like to cover those things, if you do it beforehand and give me the 5 issues, I will make sure that we try and cover those 5 issues. I hope that makes things clear. I will send out an instruction about that as well. Okay. To make sure you're really learning from these webinars, write down your bright ideas, share them, and I'm sure that we can give a thought for the day as well. All right. True leadership comes from influence. We need to be influencing in our things, and so we need to influence one another. And I'm hoping that these webinars will help us influence one another. I see it not as just a talk from me, but that we share with one another and with each of us doing this, and in that way we can actually grow together. I've come to the end of my presentation, which really leads me to the next part of this presentation. And that is to demonstrate how to log on and how to use the learning management system to your best advantage. So I'm now going to share my screen and demonstrate how to log on and what it is actually going to look like. Oops. Are you right? Computer screen is being broadcast to all participants. Let me just see if I can see what you are seeing. That's exactly what I wanted you to see. All right, is that clear? Are you able to see the website? If you can just raise your hand, then I'll know that you can see the website. Yes, there are lots of websites coming on. Thank you very much, Matthew. Okay, it looks like most of you can see the website. Okay. All right. Now, if you have a look at the top there, you'll see that it says member. And I'm going to go to the member and go to log on. And then you go into the members area. For now, to be very good, if you can, when you go to those areas, if you can log on and when you log on to the participants area, if you will be all commencing after June, and you should get a screen that looks something like that. Okay, I'm going to log on as a participant so that you will see what it looks like from a participant's view. And I am now about. You will see your courses come up. I only have one as this one, and you will see that it is Managed Project Scope. So when you log on, this is the first thing that you're going to see. Now you'll need to enter into that project, and this is what it would look like. Now, what I'm going to do at the moment, if you have a look, I'm going to now see if I can overlay. I can't actually overlay. Unfortunately, I can't actually overlay something. So I'm going to use my mouse pointer. Oh, that doesn't come out either. Oh, that's going to be difficult. Yep, there's no way I can actually show you, so I'm going to have to talk you through. If you have a look at the news forum, and that is where I'm going to distribute information, and anything that you'd like to know is in that news forum. And I will put something on there this afternoon, and then you will be able to pick it up when you log in. Now, the login, let me just go back to the login. So I'm going to log out again and log in again. You will notice that where it says username, that is your user ID. You would recognize that most of you will have 10 and then the number, and then it'll be your surname initial and your first name initial. Your password starts with password, but you will have to change it. I can't do it there. And let's get back to here. All right, we're back there. Now, the introduction. In this one, it tells us what this unit descriptor is. Oops, I see that can you see those? On my screen, it's not actually coming through very clearly. No, that is not too good. All right, I'm going to just, then if you can't see it, then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to read out what it is. It's what you will see when you go in there is the unit descriptor. This, for example, Managed Project Scope. This unit describes the performance outcomes, the skills, the knowledge, the requirement determined to manage project outcomes. It covers the authorization, development, scope management, and managing of application of project scopes. Now that comes straight from the training package. So we have given you that, although that's probably not the most important thing. We have also given you will see that there underneath there is the recognition of prior learning. Now, some of you might not want to do the recognition of prior learning. However, it would be very good for you to actually have a look and see what is in there. So I recommend that you go through that even before you start with the other ones, before you start with some of the unit commencement. All right? Yes, Matthew. Colin that's raised his hand. Colin? Yes, Matthew, the news tab is for every element, for every unit, not every element, for every unit. But I can make it available to the whole site as well. And it's probably better if we do it for the whole site. Matthew has raised his hand a second time. Yes, Matthew? Do you have another question there, Matthew? Yes. If we are doing RPL, Matthew, then we don't have to do it in the same order. But I would really like to do the the learning part of it in a particular order, because that's the way and the order that a project really runs. It'll run in a particular order. And so although the 9 elements are the 9 elements in the PMBOK body of knowledge, and yes, they don't follow the particular process, it would be good to follow it in the process that we're actually doing it. However, if you want to start providing and gathering evidence, you may do it in any order that you want to do it. So if you want to start providing evidence with communication and you have the evidence for communication, you're welcome to start submitting that in any order that you want. If you're doing RPL, obviously you can put it in any order that you want as well. All right, Matthew, ask your question again. We would like you to use, okay, we will take any kind of submission. All right, so we will make it easy for you. We will take any kind of submission. The issue comes in, though, is how quickly can we give you a turnaround? If you submit it via the website, we can give you a very, very quick turnaround. But the administration, if you submit it manually, will take us quite a while because of the amount of administration that it takes. Also, we cannot guarantee how long it takes to get through the post. So we really highly recommend that you actually submit this online. It makes it much easier for us to assess. It keeps it all in one place, and we can ensure that you're assessed fairly and that you're assessed as quickly as possible. So yes, we highly recommend that you submit everything through the website. You will see that there's a number of question banks. Even if you are not doing the RPL, we suggest that you go through those question banks because it'll give you some kind of idea of what we're looking for to say that someone is competent in, for example, manage a project scope. In this one, you will actually see that it says the unit of the task will be coming soon and the core learning. We will make sure that as we do each one of these seminars, that those units of competence and the core learning will be up in time for each one of those ones. So over the program that you're getting here, we will ensure that, for example, the first one that you will be doing is BSB PMG 501A, Manage Application Project Integrative Process, which starts next week. And the unit commencement task will be up, the core learning will be there, and the assessment, the assessments and the resources for those assessments will be available for you before that seminar. Does that if that makes sense? Then that's great. If there's anybody who wants a question on that, please raise your hand and I will try and answer that right now. Okay, so that's what it looks like. To actually submit one, what you would do is you would click on, say, that project. There's the project, and it gives you a chance to upload a file. Unfortunately, we can only give you around about 2 megabytes. In fact, we can probably give you up to 5 megabytes maximum size. If you say browse, it will actually allow you to go to your own computer and you should be able to open it and then upload the file, as I have just done now. And that's as simple as it is to upload any of your portfolio of evidence that you want to provide. Okay, and there it's uploaded. Now, if you have a look at the bottom there, once you've uploaded it, you will see that it says there I did the uploaded the PowerPoint that we're actually using tonight. You'll see underneath there it says final submission for assignment marking. If you want us to mark that assignment and you're ready for marking it, then you can say send for marking. But once you send it for marking, you will not be able to upload anything else until we have assessed it and given you feedback. Alright, so if you have inadvertently sent it for marking, please send us an email and we will unblock it for you so that you can submit more evidence if you would like to do that. But it does lock you out from sending or uploading anything else the minute you say send for marking. And that gives us the signal that you're ready for us to actually assess that unit. So send for marking, we have to block you out so that we can, in fact, assess or make a cutoff for that. So you can upload. When you've finished uploading and you say send for marking, that's when we will start assessing. Are there any questions on that? Okay, if there are no more questions on that, yes, there are. Colin, yes, Colin? Okay. All right, we've had some good comments there. The final part of this presentation for the last few minutes, I would just like to take you through the process, the RPL process. Now, I know that some of you won't be doing RPL, but I'll just take you through how we actually go through the RPL process. So I'm going to actually share a screen right now, and I'm going to stop sharing this one, and we're going to go to a whiteboard. Now there is a process for the RPL. We need you to apply for the RPL and tell us which units you would like to actually be assessed via recognition of prior learning. So the first thing that you need to do is actually apply for that for RPL. Once you've applied for that, then what we will do is we'll go through and we'll actually interview you. So the second step in this process is an interview and a review of your documentation. So then we will interview you and we will review your documentation. Once we've reviewed the documentation, once we've reviewed it, we will actually do what we call the competency conversion. So we will look at the competencies and convert them. And once we've converted them to and matched them to the knowledge requirements, the skill requirements, and the performance criteria, we will then deem you either competent or that we require more evidence for that particular unit. We will also need to do some sort of practical assessment of this. So you will have to provide us with some means of actually assessing that. Sometimes it would be it'll be the documentation that you provided, and on some things, if it's something like negotiation, we might simulate an event where you would actually demonstrate negotiation, for example. So there will be some sort of practical assessment. Okay, if that is, and we find that, well, there's some areas of knowledge or there's an area that you need to be a little bit more, what we will do is we'll provide you with a gap training and then you just resubmit some of your evidence. And when that's completed, so that's the gap training. And when you've done the gap training, we will then obviously deem you're competent in that unit so that you can get your qualification. So that's the RPL process. Are there any questions for that? Okay, if Matthew has raised his hand. Yes, Matthew, do you want to just type out your question, then I can repeat it? Matthew says, isn't that a long process? Actually, Matthew, it just looks long. It doesn't take very long at all. What you need to start doing, if there's any of the units that you want RPL'd, is to see what kind of evidence that you can on the learning management system. All of those are up right now, so if you go into it, you can actually see what would be required of it, what kind of questions we'd ask you of it, from the interview perspective, what are the questions we're going to ask you, and what kind of evidence are we going to look for it. And actually, it's not a long process, no. Anybody else with some questions about RPL or anything else that we've discussed tonight? We have about another 6 minutes if anybody would like to ask any questions. Well, not too many more questions. Well, if there are no more questions, then I want to thank you for all attending tonight. I hope it was of some benefit, and I hope to be able to look at what we've done. So please email us any suggestions. If this hasn't been, if there are some problem areas, please just let us know and let's try and sort them out before next week, because we'd really like to start with the first one that will really help us, and that's the manage application integrative processes. So that's what we'll be starting with next week. And so we will be choosing some subjects. If you could please put your five things that you would like to get out of it. You will have been sent the books, and if you have a look and see if there's anything in there that you would really like explanation of, if you can send me your 5 comments, I would really greatly appreciate that. And then we'll make sure that's included in the seminar. As I said, it's only an hour long, and so it's not going to be it's not going to be doing it. My microphone was one of the ones, and that's Deborah right now, that didn't seem to be working. Can we have a look at the end of this session? Actually, yes, we can, Deborah. One of the things that in fact, we can actually do that for all of you that have microphones and that appeared that it didn't work. One of the things that you can actually do right now is that in that space that I've actually got in there, you know, the whiteboard space, if you right-click on that right now, and it'll say Settings. All right, and if you have a look and see, I'm not sure whether you can see that or not. I'm not sure whether it's actually been displayed. But if you right-click in that area right now, it will say Adobe Flash Player Settings. And then you'll see Privacy and Allow. And then you will see that it will give us the URL to access your camera and your microphone. And you can say Allow or Deny. And then it also has Remember. Very true. You will actually see that I might need some gap training in my spelling. Sure thing, Tiffany. I was trying to do it quite quickly, and that interview doesn't look too good at all, does it? Somebody else has just raised their hand. Is it Deborah? Deborah, can I just ask if if you understand, if you right click in the right area and it says Adobe Flash Player, if you can see that. Ah, Matthew, you're back on again. Would anybody else like to try their speaker? If you're not on, I can give you access right now. Deborah, yes, I wanted to test it. Would you give me the microphone, please? Yes, Deborah, I will give you the microphone right now. Oh. There's the, whoops. There we are, Deborah. Do you want to try it? Is there anybody else that would like to try after using the settings? Okay, Matthew, I've given you as well. Deborah. No, Deborah, it's not coming through, and you haven't changed. Matthew's one has. Matthew, let's see if I can hear you. Matthew, you may need to turn your one up a little bit. Deborah, I cannot hear you. So we're going to have to do this. I'll have to get hold of you and see if we can do it another time. Actually, Deborah, would you be able to share your screen? I'm going to give you the option to share your screen. If you can share your screen, we might be able to have a look at that. Well, and that's not allowing me to do it either. No, Deborah, we can't hear you. Okay. Is there anybody else that would like to do it?
How about that? Can you hear me now?
Oh, now I can hear somebody.
Thanks.
Deborah, I can hear you. There we go.
Hey, Tiff just told me that
All
I
right.
have to hold down the talk button at the bottom.
Yes, actually, you can just press the lock as well. It will actually keep fine. But we are hearing you great.
Thank you.
It is really great. There we go.
Yeah, I can hear Deb there.
There we are. Will is saying we can hear you as well.
Thank you.
Good, that's what I twigged to as well. You had to hold that talk button down the bottom or hit the lock key. But hold my mouth closer to the microphone too.
Yeah, that's good. Thanks, Tiff.
Yes, it's good. There we go. Oh, this is going to be better next time. There we go. All right. Okay, Matthew, are you talking now at the moment? We're not hearing Matthew for some reason. Okay. Not sure why we're not getting you, Matthew. Yeah, that might be. All right. Well, we'll see if we can get through before next week, Matthew, and if we can just try it out. Did you try down at the bottom to press the talk button, Matthew? You need to make sure the talk button is down. Okay. All right. Okay. It's coming through. It's telling you that you're talking, but we can't hear you. What I'd like to say is thank you all for tonight. I'm going to say thank you and good night tonight. Those of you that are having difficulty, I will definitely try and get hold of you and try and have an interview with you before next week so that we can make sure that it works correctly. And Tiffany's just asked a question and raised her hand. So just before we go, let's just get that question, Tiffany. Okay, I've given you the mic, Tiffany. Do you want to try? Oh, where's Tiffany? There she is. Do you still want to try? Okay. Okay, Michael Stevens has just joined us. Michael, welcome. Michael, would you like to start and come in for the next session? We'll be starting the next session. Just not sure. Are you from New South Wales, Michael? Hello, Michael. Are you able to hear me?
Sorry, I'm a little early, am I?
Oh, Matthew. Is that Michael or is it?
No, it's Michael.
Okay, no.
Have I interrupted?
Oh, it's Michael. Okay, Michael. Michael, if you can, you've come in on the end of the last session, and I was just wondering, would you be able to come in a little bit later?
Not a problem. Apologies to all.
No problem at all, Michael. We'll see you a little bit later if you can do that.
I'll disappear and return in
All right.
15.
Thank you. All right, Michael. See you later.
Bye.
All right then. Okay. Michael has raised his hand. Yes. Hearing Michael. Fine. Got to go. We'll talk to you later. Okay. Okay, well, we will see you later. And there's Matthew. All right. I'm going to say then good night to this session. Well, goodbye all.